Well, hello and welcome back, guys, to another one of my The Gifted Season 2 reviews. So the second episode of the second season of the series, it did maintain a certain level of quality, a decent one at that, but not as good as the premiere. Generally speaking, we went for a trip down memory lane for a bunch of characters. Thunderbird did have the bear share, but nonetheless, we had Reva talking about her history, her memories, the entire story with Benazir, and we had Reed Stalker as well, going through his father's notes in his quest to figure out what was going on with him, these newly found powers that we did realize do exist very close to the very end of the episode. So without further ado, number 1, Evangeline Whedon or Vange is back. She was not just there for the finale of the first season. She was not just this kind of lawyer who appears, tries to help a mutant, and then vanishes into thin air. It does seem like a bigger role is planned for her. She did after all point Thunderbird in the right direction, in the direction of the mutant who would help them figure out where Andy is and possibly figure out where the inner circle is hiding. But that brings us to number 2, the history that Thunderbird has with Evangeline Whedon. That's a huge comic book Easter egg. There is a lot in that background story that does conform with the comics. Thunderbird being enlisted into the Marines, feeling all aimless and hopeless after returning home. Only in the comics, he was recruited into the X-Men rather than the Underground, and he was recruited by Professor X rather than Evangeline Whedon. But number 3, there is a mutant named Urg, and that mutant is pretty much the setup for the Morlocks. Now we do know that the Morlocks are going to be making an appearance, or that at least we're going to get a lot of Easter eggs to the Morlocks on the season, based on hints given ahead of the season. Number 4, to get over and done with Evangeline's arc on this episode, there was the statement, Lizard of Oz, a play on Wizard of Oz, the funniest moment of the episode. Really liked that bit by Eclipse. Number 5, there were a lot more parallels to the comics on this episode, thanks to Hillbilly Author on Discord for noticing the most important hint out of all of them, tipping me off in the right direction. That being the clock pointing to 253, pointing us in the direction of Uncanny X-Men issue number 253, and a lot of parallels have been drawn right out of that issue. And speaking of those, number 6, the Stepford Cuckoos mission was pretty much similar to that of the Reavers in that issue. Number 7, Eclipse lighting up the sky at the end of the episode. He's pretty much a filler for the Lighthouse out of that issue of Uncanny X-Men. Number 8, Polaris was aligned with the Marauders like she is aligned with the Inner Circle over here. Number 9, Polaris does send a distress signal on that issue, and on this episode she does cry for help or yell for help at the very end when she realizes that Dawn is not feeling so well. Number 10, we've got Esme going soft, all the doubts that she has about Reva's instructions and orders. That is a parallel to Polaris having her very own doubts on the very same issue. But number 11, is Esme about to change sides? I mean, those doubts that she had on this episode, are they just about the reference to the comics, or could they be a hint about more? I mean, I do like me some comic book Easter eggs, but at the very end of the day, if they are misplaced, if they're just used for no good reason, then it is just terrible placement. They're just useless. So I do expect this Esme thing to play out to the very end. But number 12, Jace Turner is back, and he's still all anti-mutants. He's been dealing with his troubles coming out of season 1. There's obviously a therapist involved, and he might have tried to get over it, but he is obviously still obsessed. And when it comes to expectations, I do think he's gonna end up somehow, somewhere down the road, working with the Underground in order to stop the plans of the Inner Circle. Number 13, the connection between Lauren and Andy. That's quite the strong one. They do get to have the same nightmare in which Lauren ends up falling off the roof. For a moment there as well, I did expect Andy would end up back with the Underground. That did not happen by the end of the episode, but the show is definitely laying the groundwork for the possibility that at some point Andy might join back with the Underground and have his own redemption arc. Number 14, the Purifiers get yet another mention on the series. That makes me lean more towards the Madeline Risman Easter egg from the season 1 finale being more about Matthew Risman and the Purifiers rather than Madeline Pryor or Deborah Risman from the comics. Number 15, on the premiere, we did get the idea that Reed might have powers. Now that was confirmed on episode 2, but on episode 2 as well, and close to the very end, we get the idea that Dawn as well might have powers. I suppose we're going to find out more about that on episodes to come, what the burning up means, what the being hungry all the time, wanting to get fed all the time does mean. I mean, honestly, these things might be a plot device towards something else. They don't necessarily have to mean that the newborn baby has powers. Babies do get sick, and some babies are hungrier than others. The greater chances, though, in my opinion, are she does have powers, even though I'd feel it's a little bit silly giving Reed powers on the premiere of the season, and then giving Dawn powers on the very following episode. That being said, though, it was a pretty good episode, even though it did not have the same level of action as the premiere of the season, but nonetheless, a pretty strong episode, very true to the comics. You could geek out on this kind of episode, so do let me know in the comments if you did like this episode. Let me know what was your favorite part about this episode. Let me know if you've got any theories when it comes to the rest of the season. Let me know as well if you did like this video by dropping it a much appreciated like. If that were to be the case, you could always subscribe and enable notifications for my future videos, community posts, and live streams. Until you tune in for another one of my videos though, thank you so much for tuning into this one, and have a great day.